Well, howdy folks, and welcome out to the claim. Well, the summer heat is finally diminishing. It's starting to cool off and it's looking really great. It's awesome to be back here on the claim. So during the summer months, I've been working on the Gold Rattler and kind of working on the logistics as well as some of the measurements, things like that, and a sheet metal company that has CNC equipment that can do a lot of the fabrication for the Gold Rattler. And I've also been working on the upper shaker deck because there's a few little things that I didn't quite like about it. You know, the original one was okay, but I just wanted to make it a little bit better. So we have the Gold Rattler out here today, and there it is behind me. And so I just want to share with you some of the modifications to the new upper shaker deck. So come on over here and we'll take a look at it. This is the upper shaker deck of the original Gold Rattler that you've seen in some of the original videos from over a year ago. It's made out of 14 gauge carbon steel deck plate, as well as stainless steel 20 gauge feeder wings here, or flares, okay, that help guide the material onto the deck. Now, there's a few things that I was kind of concerned about, is that, first of all, it weighs a lot. It weighs like 32 pounds without the motor, so the thing is pretty heavy. And the other thing is that I noticed that during the vibration, these feeder wings were flapping up and down like a bird. Like, you know, when the deck was going up and down, these were just going like this. Well, that's robbing energy from what's going on down here on the deck itself, okay? And plus another thing that I noticed was that where the motor was mounted down here, okay, I was noticing that the deck wasn't shaking very much compared to the other parts. Now, you would think where the motor's there, it'd be really shaking really hard, but it's not doing that. So I found that to be a little puzzling as well. So, and also there's a lot of nuts and bolts that you can see through here that make this thing all put together. So it's quite labor intensive to assemble. All right. So, and then there's also another thing I noticed too, is that on the back side here where the motor mounts, okay, this guy right here, little bits of cracks were starting to appear, a little bit of fatigue cracks from the vibration because, you know, carbon steel can't handle it. Now the new deck is made out of stainless steel, and stainless can handle vibration really well. So it's got different characteristics. So we'll get into that in just a minute. And finally, another thing is that this screen right up here, okay, this is a 1/4 inch punch plate. Well, it's 1/4 inch round diameter, but not in a square. So what happens is that, yeah, if you have a round 1/4 inch nugget, it'll fall through the deck. But if that nugget's maybe a little oblong or not quite totally round, it's not going to fall through. So what I've done with the new deck is I've increased the hole size a little bit more so it would match like a square, you know, like a square screen or whatever. So that way, if it's a little oblong, it will have a better chance of dropping through and landing on the sluice. So with that, and then as you can see all the plethora of bolts and everything to make this thing all work. And like I say, it's very heavy. So let's come on over here and let me show you what I've done to rectify all this. In fact, let me show you, before we do that, let me show you a slow motion video that I've created to show this thing in action. Notice that the feeder wings are vibrating like they are up and down, and also look at the deck too. Notice the deck has uneven fluctuation points along the line. This is where the problem kind of lies, and this is what I wanted to straighten out. So anyhow, come on over here to the other deck and I'll show you what we got. Introducing the new stainless steel shaker deck. As I'm kind of panning around here, you can kind of take a look at it. It's much more simplified, a lot less bolt holes. And what's really the first thing you notice is that these wings right here are not attached to the deck. That's right. They are actually free floating. In fact, if I get in here and I'll move this little pad out of the way, see that? They're not touching the deck at all. So they're perfectly stationary. So that means that this deck right here is free floating to do its own thing. See that? That is absolutely cool. So now all the energy is now placed on this deck here. All right. So therefore, the only thing moving up and down is the flat part of this deck and the sidewalls. And if you notice, I have it bent in here slightly at 45 degrees. And that kind of helps keep some of the water in besides the feeder wings that are up on top. Now, this deck has all been laser cut and bent by a CNC sheet metal fabricator. And you can see there's the stainless steel guide studs down there that actually shake and break up the rocks and material. And then there's the punch plate right down here. Notice instead of the other one where it was bolted onto the old shaker deck, this is actually incorporated right on the deck itself. And of course, these are 9/16 holes instead of 1/4 inch. Isn't that awesome? So I'm just going to kind of pan around to the other side here. And this is the back end of the deck. And you can see the punch holes that are going through there. And of course, like I say, the deck is just this part and not the feeder wings at all. So they're totally separate. So that way this whole thing can shake and move around and vibrate and all that without touching the deck. So the energy is kept on this deck. And of course, with the vertical component, it's just going up and down like this. So now let me show you the motor mount. This is going to be trick. Instead of having the motor bolted like you've seen in the past would be right here, there's no bolt holes. It's all gone. So what I've done is the motor is still suspended underneath the deck, but what's happening is that it doesn't touch the deck at all. Look at that. See that? It totally clears the deck. So therefore, all the energy is coming off of this angle iron and extends all the way out here to this plate and onto this angle iron, which is bolted onto the side of the deck. So what's happening is the deck is moving up and down in this direction, so it allows this entire surface up here, to fluctuate up and down, uninhibited by the motor mounts and bolts and things of that sort. So now we have an even vibration all the way down the deck, and I'll show you that in a little bit when we get the machine fired up. Now, also, there's another benefit to this too as well, is that the deck really doesn't shake up and down. What it does, it's actually shaking in an ellipse like this, okay? Very similar to the dewatering shaker deck. So what's happening is that as this deck shakes up and down and moves around, it actually moves the material, advances it down the deck, okay? So it makes it a little smoother. And consequently, I was able to lower the deck a little bit. Instead of being at 6 degrees, it's now at 4 degrees. And here's just a quick video I'm going to show you in super slow motion of this piece right here. You'll see how it's vibrating and shaking, and it's got a slight elliptical pattern to it. And that's really cool. The other thing I want to mention about the deck is that this one only weighs 16 pounds without the motor, so it's extremely light. So it turns out that when I was making these changes, I also had to change the size of the vibrator motor. This underneath is a 40-watt motor that puts out about 25 kilograms of energy. The other one that was on the original deck was 100 watts, which put out 50 grams of energy. So this is much more efficient. In other words, a smaller motor, less energy, and it shakes the deck pretty well. So let's go ahead and turn this on, and I want to show you a view of what it looks like in super slow motion so you can see how the deck evenly flows all the way down with the same vibrating intensity. Now we got the deck vibrating, so let me show you in super slow motion what it looks like. If you notice, see how everything is flowing nice and smooth all the way down the deck. It's got the same vibration intensity. So let's get this thing fired up, and we'll show you how it works. I've got lots of material here behind me, so I've got probably about a half yard, so we'll go ahead and feed it through the rattler and see if we get any gold today. I'm going to turn on the upper shaker deck, get that vibrating. It makes a lot of noise, so hopefully you guys can hear my voice as I'm, trying to talk here. And we'll turn the water on. There's the sprayers. Now look at that action in here. Look how that water is just jumping all around on that deck. Now, thank goodness with these feeder wings right here, that's capturing most of the water, so it's not getting lost. But look at that. So when we run some material through here, you're going to see this material just going crazy. Okay, this is just awesome. So this will break down all your clay clots and everything else and wash all the rocks very, very efficiently. Okay, here we go with our first load here. Let's throw it in here. Woo! Look at that action in there. Look at all that material just jumping like jumping beans. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. Woo! Yeah, just getting washed like crazy. That's fantastic. Look at that. And yeah, you're going to get wet. material just flying off that deck. Look at it coming down. Fast as you can feed it. Look at those rocks. Come on, baby. Look at these. Absolutely whistle clean. Absolutely clean. Especially for being all that clay. The material in here. You're slowly feeding it in. What's nice about this bar right here is that I'm able to rest the bucket on it, so it takes some of the stress off, so you're not having to hold it up all the time. Makes it real easy. And you can change different positions. You want to rest it up here? Certainly can. Feed it right in here. And notice my feeder guides aren't shaking. Rock steady. That's perfect. It's exactly what you want. A little bit of wind blowing getting in my face. A little bit of dust. Yes, sirree. There we go. Look at that dewatering deck down here. Look how it's doing its job. Separating all the solids from the liquids. Part of the filtration process. Look at it go. Oh yeah. Woo! Working real good. And here's some action on the sluice. See how the material water is flowing really nice down here. All the way down to the deflection plate, and then of course down onto the dewatering deck, which you saw earlier. Now the dewatering deck is the first step in the filtration process where the water and the solids are separated. And of course, then the material flows down below the deck down here, where I've got these buckets underneath here that are sand filtered. You see how everything's filling into those buckets. All right, so there's sand in those buckets that are filtering out the suspended particles. And of course, this is quarter-inch sand in this bucket. And then of course, it fills up and flows through these little spigots right here, these little flumes, into the next bucket. And now these buckets here have got 1/8-inch sand in them. Okay. So it gets even a finer filtration. And then finally we flow into the pump tug where we have the pump here. This is made by Surimi. It's one of their best pumps, especially for their size. It's actually overkill for this operation. So therefore I have to have this little valve right down here to control the feed going up to the spray bar. So that way I don't overdo it. And then finally we have the other filtration system that has 16th-inch sand. This is a pressurized sand filter. So the water is pumped on the bottom of the filter itself, and it works its way through the top. Sorry for my fingers there, guys. And then flows back into the pump tub. So it just helps purify the water a little bit more. So that way we can continue to run all this gooey clay down here as much as we can. And this is how the beauty of this whole machine is. The whole idea is to filter the water so you can recycle it, because, you know, out here in the desert, water's pretty scarce, so you got to truck it in. It's not, you just can't run down to the stream and pick up some water. So anyhow, this is how it all works. So anyhow, let's get ready. We'll run some more material through this thing and finish this off. Now I forgot my little 2.5 gallon bucket, but that's okay. We can use a 5. We just scoop up more dirt this way, and we can run it through the plant. Let's go. There we go. Doesn't matter which way you dump the dirt on. You can put it on top of the bar, you can put it over here. Doesn't matter, because by the time it gets down here, it's pretty well flattened out through the entire deck. So no worries. So you can feed it from either direction. Look at all that material just getting chewed up there. Those little studs there are just causing that material just to jump all over the place. Most of this is just water, but you still see it jumping in there. Pretty amazing. Hey, you can see that action in the sluice there. Look at that, all that muddy material coming down in the sluice. Flowing onto the dewatering shaker deck where everything's getting separated. And no, those are not clay balls that didn't get processed. So that's what clay balls look like when they're dehydrated from the shaker deck. Pretty amazing. Well, we made pretty good work out of that pile, so I think it's time to go ahead and shut down the Gold Rattler and see if we got any gold or not. You see the material, or the water here is getting just a little on the dirty side. It's still plenty lubricious. Everything is still flowing really well. In fact, we come down here to the water. You can see as I'm splashing it down here, see it's not really gummy at all. See that? So it's still looking really good. But let's go ahead and take her down and do a clean out. Alrighty, we'll go ahead and take the tubing off here first. It goes to the spray bars and get rid of that so it's out of our way. And then we'll bring this tub up here so it's right up against the sluice, and we'll tip the deflection plate downward, and we'll lock it so it doesn't go anywhere. And then we'll go ahead and take our latches off the sides that are holding the sluice in position. Just set that apart. Come over here and do the other side. Got a little latch right here. Another latch there. And these little bars can just sit right here on the wheel well for now. Okay, we'll just slide it out nice and easy. Now we know that most of the gold is up here in the upper part of the mat. So we're just going to pick it up and we're going to rotate it around. And because we know this is the part that's going to be having the most gold, we're going to face it down in the tub first. Okay, so now we have it in the tub now. We can go ahead and finish flushing out all of this, and then we'll go ahead and shake it and knock all the gold and material loose off the rubber mat riffles. Okay, looks good. All right, now we'll go ahead and just finish washing this down into the tub. There we go. Yeah, it looks pretty clean. Now let's go ahead and move this tub over to some level ground and we can work on it. Okay, we found kind of a level spot here, so we'll just take the mat and we'll just kind of shake it off. Now, this is the front of the mat located right here on this side, so we're going to shake this first. There we go. And we'll just slowly work our way till we get to the back side of the mat. Shake that off real good too. There we go. Let's flip it around and have a look at it. Yep, looks pretty good. Now there's a little bit still hanging on the back here, so I'll kind of spin this around. The water's a little uneven. It's a little deeper on this side, so just splash it a little bit, get those rocks loose and all that dirt. Okay, yep, looks pretty good. We'll just tip up our concentrates into the pan. Now I like to use this Maverick pan. It's made by it's a Fosker pan made by Snake River Products, and I like it. It seems to work pretty good. Some people like different pans. That's okay. All right, so we got all our cons in here. Very good. And what I like to do is just fill it up with a little bit of water, kind of smear it around. And before I pan this, I like to hit it with my Spin It Off. This is a great way to remove some of the magnetic black sand in here. We're just going to spin it with this drill. Look at that. Look at that black sand, folks. Woo! Okay. Now, the way this thing works is that the magnet it spins around, and then the gold can't hang on to it as these magnets spin around in the cylinder. And so what sticks to is the black sand, but the gold drops out. So now I'll go ahead and just kind of push this off into the other pan, and I'll save it for later because you never know that sometimes, maybe, just maybe, you know, it might actually have some black sand on it, some gold stuck to some of the black sand. I have had that happen once or twice. All right, well, it looks like the sun is moving in and out of the clouds right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of shake this thing down, and there we go. I don't want to bore you with all the details of panning, but I'm just going to go ahead and just shake this. And what you do is you just tip the pan a little bit down to the side. I'm smacking it with my left hand, and then you bring it down here and you're starting to wash off all the big rocks here. There we go. So, all right, so I'll bring you back, because this is going to kind of a little bit of a process. So I'll bring you back here in just a few minutes as soon as I get down to the black sand when we're ready for the reveal. All right. All right, we're back, and we're down to the last little bit of black sand here. So I'm just kind of cutting this down, and I'm already seeing little bits of fine gold mixed in with the black sand. I don't know if you can see it because of the glare, but there's all kinds of little dots of little 100 mesh pieces of gold kind of in here. It's really fine stuff. That's doing really good. Okay, let's see if we can get down to some really good gold. Oh yeah, look at this. Okay, now we're starting to see some of the gold show up right along here. Look at that, as we're coming along through here. Yeah, and I'm seeing more finer pieces all dotted through here. Look at all this fine gold. I'll bring it up to the camera. Hopefully you can see it. The camera resolution bringing it just a whole bunch of little nano dots all over the place. Pretty impressive. So anyway, let's keep on working our way down and see what else we have here. Oh yeah, look at this stuff just lighting up. Wow. Let's move this little rock out of the way. Yeah, I'd say we did pretty good. Not too bad for just a half yard of material, maybe three quarters of a yard. I don't think we ran half yard. It was maybe a little bit more. So yeah, let's put these out here so we can kind of see them a little better. Yeah, look at that pile of yellow. Yeah, I'd say we did pretty darn good out there. Look at that. And then look at all this fine gold mixed in here. Look at all the fine gold right down here in the corner. You see all this just lit up? And we haven't even got over to this corner here. Let's see what's over on this side too. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's more of it just dotted all through here. Here's a little regular looking piece there. Yeah. So yeah, I think we did pretty good today. Not bad on the gold. Well, we did pretty good on the gold today. Not too bad. We got some nice little chunky pickers and all that. And this upper shaker deck was really powerful too. It did a really marvelous job. So I think this is going to be the production model. So it's definitely works better. It shakes like crazy, really washes those rocks really good. So I'm quite pleased. And now it's just a matter of getting everything all put onto a CNC sheet metal fabricating machine. So that way we can sit there and manufacture all these parts and everything. And so that's what I'm kind of working with a particular company in Las Vegas to get this stuff done. So anyway, before we close, I just want to mention that I did spend some of the summer months up in Alaska. I went up to Nome and I stayed at the AKAU resort for about a week and had a really great time. It was a total blast. And I hope you can actually get up there sometime because it's really awesome. But anyway, I did 3 videos. So if you go to my channel, be sure to check those out. I did one of AKAU and all the gold we found up there and stuff like that. And then also I did a little, walk through the town of Nome itself. And there's a lot of interesting things, stories I could tell. But anyway, and also I did a video on a guy who's a single man operator who's got his own wash plant, excavator, and front loader and stuff. And he's working his claim and doing really quite well. I mean, there's lots of gold up in Nome. So I was thoroughly impressed. So be sure to check out those videos after we're done today. Now, if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button for me because it helps me out in the algorithm, and also hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that way you can get future updates on my videos and stuff. And be sure to comment in the comment section because the more comments I get, the better YouTube likes me. So anyway, so that's about it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, get it all cleaned up, and get out of town, head back home. So I wish you the very best in your prospecting adventures. Get out there and find some gold because it's still out here. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.